And my apologies, Joan, I just started the recording. I forgot to hit the record button, so I'm not going to repeat all that, but we are now in our Council on Aging May 5th meeting. So now that the meeting's called to order, we're going to have our annual board meeting. So we have some business to get to in advance of our regular meeting. So right now we have terms that expire on June 30th. That is myself, Janet Kane. Oops, two people want to come in. Hold on. Good, Kay's back and Nancy's here. Okay, and Nancy's joined us. Welcome back, Kay, and welcome, Nancy. So the two terms that are expiring are Kay Lorgan and myself, and we have one open position because of Yvonne stepping off of the board a couple months ago. So we are open for discussion. Kay, would you like to comment at all at this point in time?
Oh, yes. Well, I already told you that I am not going to apply for another term. So my term ends, you told me June?
June 30th. So we have an opening to fill there. I would be honored to be recommended to the select board to be reappointed to the Council on Aging Board. I love this board.
Well, I would vote for you.
I would second that. And
I think you
then
need to nominate. Was that a nomination?
Well, I'll nominate you. I don't know how
I'll
you do
second that. I'll second that.
Okay, and we'll go down. I'll put you on, everybody on the spot on roll call. Jim,
What are we voting on? Whether to nominate you?
whether to recommend me to the select board for,
Oh, gee, it's tough. Yeah, okay.
you can skip over you and come back. Jim, we have to do a roll call vote here.
Oh,
So,
okay, yes, I vote in favor
Okay.
of that.
Josie,
Yes.
Lori,
yes,
Kay, you're still on,
Yes.
and Nancy.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you all for your vote of confidence. We have two openings then, and Kay, just let me comment that you've been a great participant on this board. Your feedback and your attendance to the Friends meetings has been really beneficial and informative, and I thank you for your participation there. You're not off the hook yet. You've got one more meeting to go. So,
Okay.
so don't stop.
Well,
going.
I've really enjoyed this, and you know, everyone is so helpful and nice, and it's really it was an honor to be on the board. Thank you.
And thank you for stepping up, and we really appreciate you stepping up at the time 3 years ago that you did.
Kay, are you
Oh,
leaving the board too, or just not rerunning for office?
No, that she's stepping down from the board. She's not in and
Oh,
off
dear.
at this point, so. So we do have two.
She'll remain active. She's very active in
Oh,
the
yeah.
Council on Aging.
She's
Just won't
always
be on.
welcome to come back and dial into our meetings when we're on Zoom, or come to our meetings live when we're, and we,
sure. Yeah. I'll probably come to maybe one of the live ones, because the Zoom is. Of course, I don't have. You know, I'm not good on Zoom. So.
yeah, moving you in that area for the last.
Right.
Have we? So I know we have two alternates, so we have two openings. I don't know if we have any other motions or nominations for a nomination for a recommendation.
well, I'd like to nominate both Sylvia and Jonathan to join us as official members.
And I'll second that.
Could we do it one at a time in case one of them decides they're not interested, which I know.
No,
they're-
let's put them under, let's put the pressure on them.
So are you okay with Jonathan and Sylvia with a double motion?
Well, with myself, but not Sylvia. No, I'm kidding. Sylvia would be an excellent member, and hopefully I'd be almost as good. So,
I think we should do it one by one, Lori. So could you nominate, and you can draw a straw. No one will be offended if you pick Jonathan and then Sylvia, or Sylvia, then Jonathan. 'Cause-
Well, I'll do ladies first.
Okay,
So I will nominate Sylvia to join us as a regular member on the board.
and do we have a second?
I second.
Jim seconds, thank you. So Sylvia, would you be willing to accept if we vote you in?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Excellent. We're so happy you. So, all in favor, Jim,
Yes.
Josie,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes,
Kay,
Yes.
Nancy,
Absolutely.
Janet, for certain. Okay, so second motion, so no one has declined, Sylvia, so unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
So this is just a recommendation that we submit to the select board for an appointment to the Council on Aging that would go into effect July 1. So you'll be alternates through July 1, okay? Okay, so do we have a nomination for appointment for Jonathan?
I'll nominate Jonathan for appointment to the board.
Okay, Josie, and second?
I will second that.
Okay, Lori. Jonathan, would you like to, would you be willing to step up if
Yes,
the board so chooses to recommend you, which I think it's going to?
sure.
Right. Jim,
Yes, definitely.
Josie,
Yes.
Lori,
Absolutely.
Kay,
Yes.
Nancy,
Absolutely.
Janet, yes. Welcome, both of you. And thank you both for
Thank
stepping
you.
up. So
Thanks.
I don't think we mentioned to you in the past, but now your job is to find 2 alternates to take your spot. Did we mention that before? No. So anyway, wonderful addition, and we welcome you with open arms to our board, and we can't wait till we can welcome you with open arms to our board. So, but we will I will submit the recommendations to the town administrator, and he will probably present that sometime in June to the select board.
Is there a form they have to refill out?
I'll check with Ed to make sure whether they have to resubmit since they're already alternates, if they have to resubmit the form or not. If they do, we'll just cross out alternate. Do they still make whiteout? And resubmit them, so.
Thank you.
Okay. So welcome, that's great.
Thanks.
All right, the next painful part of this process is the nomination of officers. So we have nominations open for secretary.
I will nominate Jim to once again be an outstanding secretary for the board.
And I would second that.
Yes.
Okay, and Jim, would you be willing to accept that nomination if so voted?
Yes.
Oh,
Okay,
thank gosh.
I don't want to go through the whole voting and then have you decline. Anybody. So we're not going to let you vote for yourself. Josie,
Absolutely.
Lori,
Yes,
Kay,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Janet, yes. Thank you, Jim, for continuing on. You do great minutes, as everyone always comments. Openings for treasurer. Do we have any nominations?
I nominate Nancy.
I will second that.
We have, okay, Nancy, would you willing to continue? on this?
Happy or willing, or both?
I'm willing to, and I am happy to have anyone else step up if they would like to.
Are there any other nominations before we close nominations? And I don't want to make assumptions here. Okay, so in favor of Nancy continuing as treasurer, Jim,
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
Lori,
Yes,
Kay,
Yes.
Janet, yes. Thank you, Nancy, again for your dedication to that position. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
Definitely appreciated.
Josie.
I was just going to nominate Josie and have our head taken.
Yeah, I would
You
second that.
wouldn't want me to have to say no online, would
I
you?
was afraid to step down from the board. So do we have a nomination for vice chair? Or Lori, do you have anything you'd like to say?
I'm hoping somebody else would like to be vice chair. Otherwise, I would accept with the caveat that you never are
We're out.
absent.
I know, so Lori, it's up to, you know, the group. If somebody else would like to take that away from, then not that away from Lori, but to also step into that slot if Lori is interested on continuing, or, because I can't guarantee that I won't be sick one first Wednesday of the month.
Then we'll just cancel the meeting until the second week.
All right, that works. So we have a motion for Lori,
I
So
moved it.
move.
Josie and Jim, first and second, whichever order you prefer. Okay, any other nominations for vice chair? Okay, all in favor, Jim,
Yes.
Josie,
Yes.
Kay,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Janet. Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
May I ask a question? Who
Yeah.
nominated and seconded Nancy for treasurer?
Nobody.
I nominated her for treasurer. Josie did.
Oh,
Josie,
Josie.
Josie.
And did Lori second?
Yes.
I forget her second.
Okay, good. Thank you. I didn't have your pictures up when you did it.
Okay. So, chair. Nomination.
Nominate Janet.
Dean.
It's a race to the finish.
Do we have any other nominations? Interested parties? Okay, I would be honored to continue on to act as chair, but
Okay, and who nominated and seconded?
Josie.
Josie did and I seconded.
Okay,
way too fast, by the way. Okay, all in favor, Jim,
yes.
Josie,
Yes.
Lori,
Absolutely.
Kay,
Yes.
Nancy.
For sure.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for your vote of confidence. Or nobody else's desire to do it, one or the other. Great. Okay, I think that concludes our election of officers for the annual meeting and fills our slot. So that's great. Very excited about the board. So shall we move to the regular meeting? Are we ready to move ahead to our usual meeting? So we
Sure.
have the minutes that,
Now that I'm safely ensconced as a nomination and elected into continuing, I have a question about the minutes. Under treasurer's report, I really don't understand what I wrote. And I would ask for clarification. It reads, a motion was made and
Everybody-
seconded. I'm sorry.
you want me to bring up the minutes? I didn't bring up the minutes, but you know that you didn't write them, Jim, right?
Oh, I didn't?
No, you were absent from our last
Oh,
week.
no wonder it didn't sound familiar. I'm sorry.
It might not have made sense either.
No, I know what they mean. I guess it's just, you're saying that the discussion with we need to spend down the formula grant?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I think that's clear.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay. Any other questions on the minutes?
I
Then
move to accept.
he pinched hit for Jim is what it, the conclusion. statement. So Jim accepts. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, great. Lori? All in favor? Jim,
Yes.
Josie,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Kay,
Yes.
Nancy,
Sure.
And Janet, yes, okay. I keep skipping Sylvia and Jonathan. It's so awkward to do that, but
But
We'll
not for
get that.
long, just another month, two.
Okay. Treasurer's report. I am going to bring this up, Nancy, because it's always good to see it. If anybody has any questions. Let me see, oops. You see the treasurer's report?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Going to be made any larger?
I'm trying to see if I can here.
I've got a full screen.
Pardon me?
My screen is full.
Oh, way over on the far left, there's
On
a
the
Zoom.
far, yeah,
You
on the
can-
far left, there.
Is that
That's
better?
Yeah, that's
Knew it
better.
was there. That Zoom was there somewhere. Okay, so COA director wages. I'm sorry, we don't make that first row permanent, so it doesn't.
Could you just hide some of those dates? or
Good.
Could you just do that real quick?
I could, yep. Let me know if I've hid too many. Probably not, but. Okay, let's do it from here then, the beginning.
No, thanks.
Okay, so right now, as far as the calculations, Nancy and Joan were good. We have enough money for you to work through the rest of the year?
Okay,
What, Joan?
yes.
Okay.
I mean, I
And
haven't figured it out by salary, but I'm assuming it looks good.
yeah, we're in the last 2 months and you're at 78%, so we should be fine. And that's through, actually it's through 75% of the year, right? Because this is through April, basically, the beginning of April. So we don't have anything here for the 24th.
Right. Haven't gotten it yet. Yeah. We'll get it in there.
All right, just double check on that, make sure that we're, and Joan, make sure
Did
you
you
have.
tell me that? I'm sorry, Nancy. I thought you said disregard. I apologize.
Okay.
I-
I think you just.
You asked for it and then the next one said disregard, so I thought you were all set.
Oh,
Okay, and the same thing with the town wages for the administrative assistant. That's pretty consistent, the 214. So Joan, just to
Yes.
make sure that we have enough there as well to get us through to the end of the last pay period.
Yes.
And we certainly have plenty of money in the state formula grant, which we have to talk about and think about shortly, right? So how do we spend down that, as we say, Jim, spend down the monies that we have left in the state formula grant? Have you gotten any direction, Joan, this year as far as spending every last penny for the state, or?
Not as of this time. I mean, there might be a discussion tomorrow. I'll let you know.
Okay, except you probably aren't at that meeting, right?
So I'm sorry, Friday.
Friday, okay. All right,
I can pose the question to Mr. Frank. Is it Adam Frank? I think is handling that grant. So I can pose the question to him. See
Yeah,
if I can get an answer.
because it's an unusual year. Same thing with Frida. You might want to check with Michael and make sure.
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
were supposed to have a Zoom meeting.
right.
so just real quickly, it does look like we'd be about $120 short on the director's wages.
Mm-hmm.
And that can come out of another.
Well, there shouldn't be any reason we should be 120 short, though.
Okay.
Because if you go at extra hours, it always should come under the formula grant. Right, Joan?
Correct. It's the way it should be.
So is there, maybe an error that was made at some point in these hidden cells that the rows that I just hid that you might want
I
to check.
wouldn't
through
doubt
that.
it, knowing me, but I'll take a look at it.
Okay. And have you received an expense report lately, Joan?
The last one is in there from 422
Okay. Okay.
down the bottom.
Okay. Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
that is accurate. It's the same. So
Okay. Yeah. So that's,
Can I ask a question, Janet?
yes.
So both of those lines, the FRITA grant and also the state formula grant are all around 50% expended.
Hmm.
So are you talking about what would have to happen with those two lines if they were underspent, or if you can apply them otherwise? Is that what you were talking about?
We can't apply them otherwise. We would just have to make sure that we don't lose money next year.
Right. Okay. So you'd have to return, out of the 28,000 for the FRITA, you'd have to return.
Well, we don't
Yep.
reach.
We don't actually get it, yeah.
You don't get it right because it's based
They're
on
both
what you submit.
reimbursable grants.
Right.
So nothing that we would have to return.
Right.
But if,
Okay.
a lot of time, if the state formula grant, for example, isn't spent,
Mm-hmm.
then they cut you for the next year. And being that this was such a strange year, and we're not back into full swing yet, so typically they require you to spend it down. I mean, I know we have some big expenses coming up, right, Joan? I mean, the volunteer luncheon's coming up,
Correct.
and so there's other things that are in the works that we're spending, so we just need to make
Right.
sure.
And is it clear what of the things that are being paid for by the state formula grant are underfunded right now or expended?
Underutilized. Well, we were doing some evening programs. We had some, some great entertainment and some, we had $800 Gangsters in Love senior theater, that we had planned for. So there were some big projects and big events that we couldn't do this year.
Okay.
So,
So is it, so
with
it's programming as opposed to like wages?
and the wages aren't a problem, I don't think, are they, Joan? We're pretty much.
no, it's not the wages.
So it's
The wages we-
programming that was hurt. So hopefully they won't, negatively impact, future because of that. I mean, they must take into consideration what year we had.
Right, I would hope so. That's what I want to make sure we're clear on. If Joan can contact.
I'll make some inquiries.
I mean, we still do have money to spend there, but typically we put on our thinking caps and see what else we might need this year. That we want to take advantage of what the state provides us. With the COVID grant, we also got some decent size, like the awning and the reception desk and things that we may have used the state formula grant that we were able to use the CARES fund. It's very unusual for us to be flush. We're usually squeaking towards the end, so. And the same thing with FRITA. I mean, with the usage of FRITA is just, so low compared to previous years, so.
It's picking up a little, but we're still probably, down at least a third of what we normally do.
Yeah, and we will, Rini, the state formula grant wages for Flo, was that approved for 1350 by the select board?
Is that to Maureen?
Yes, it was approved
Yeah.
last night. It was approved last night.
Okay. And you have your hand up for anything else? Rini?
I had raised it to ask the previous question. I'll lower it.
I probably didn't see it.
That's okay.
Um,
Thank you.
Yeah, feel free to, I know it's hard to see all those hands. Okay, anything else as far as, so if everybody didn't catch that, we're increasing Flo's hourly wage to meet what the Massachusetts has passed as their minimum wage of $13.50. So I think that's retroactive to January.
Correct.
Okay, so,
But it only comes to about $80, but that still will, that'll come out of the formula grant.
okay. All right, do we, any other questions on the treasurer's report?
Janet,
Yes, Jonathan.
just haven't looked at too many of these treasury reports, so I'm a little confused on the balance sheet here. Just
Mhm.
help me understand. So obviously at the top for the different dates here, the expenditures in red and in parenthesis means that it was paid out, right?
Correct, anything that's filled in has been paid out. If it's in black, it's money that we took in.
Took in from elsewhere to pay for,
Well, if you see
or,
what I have highlighted.
oh, I see. So it's just money that's been taken in.
Yes, so Ken takes in fair monies,
Right.
and then that gets, I think, sent back to Frida, Joan, right?
Yes, well, it
Or-
technically, I think it stays in our coffers, but then we send them a notice of what we've taken in and they subtract that. They add the wages that the drivers have made and the administrative costs. And then they take the fares out of that and then they send us a check every month or two.
And for example, the end of March, someone made a donation to the Council on Aging, so you have a couple of revenue columns, but pretty much everything else is the expenses.
But when it's said for those columns, so the revenue and the local and the van revenue, that's the remaining row. Yeah, that would indicate it's not technically there to spend, or it is. That's why I'm a little
Yes,
confused.
that's what we have left to spend this year.
So
So
it's come into us, and we have all of that available still, 100%.
well, it's coming into us through a grant. It doesn't physically come to us, but it's part of the grant that we have to spend down.
All
And
right.
we don't get the money in, but they reimburse us once we spend it.
Okay, so none of it has been, does it mean that none of it's been spent yet at those
we
two
have
columns?
The
12,000.
revenue columns we don't spend.
Say that again, Nancy, I'm sorry.
The revenue columns we don't spend. So it's just saying that there's $4,405.59 in that came in, and that's it. But we don't spend that, I
Right,
believe.
Goes towards,
Okay.
towards the Frida
That's correct.
amount. So we have spent $12,772.50 of the Frida grant, the Franklin Regional Transit Authority grant, of the 28,000 that they've given us. And so we have a balance to spend between now and the end of June, which is going to be pretty hard to do, of 15,227. But we haven't had the trips, we haven't had the luncheons, we haven't used the van as we would because of COVID. So typically there've been years that we've gone over the grant money, which we never want to do, but we were very active that year. So we had a little bit of a surplus or extra spending, so.
I would hope that Frida would look into that. I'm sure we're not the only council with this overage,
Right.
because a lot of your medical offices were closed for a couple of months. So you couldn't.
That's correct.
transport them.
And even some of this teleconferencing is continuing. So
Mhm.
people aren't going to the office. They're still, having it on a Zoom or a phone.
Correct.
The telemedicine, yeah. Okay.
And there was one point we were only doing medical, and now we're doing shopping and essential rides. We
And
did
then
vaccine rides, etc.
down line 36 and 37 is just the report that Joan gets from Ed, from
Yep.
from the
Accountant.
accountant.
Yeah, from the town.
So that's just a way to say, is what we're seeing in this little treasurer's report anywhere near accurate?
So typically, I always look at our report like the checking book, the checkbook. This is what we've written. And the accountant's report is what that has
Get
cleared
from the
the bank.
bank.
You know, so that's kind of how I compare the two. But it is a good cross-reference for us. Any other questions, Jonathan? Good questions. Thank you. All right, do we have a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
I will make a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
Okay, that's Lori. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Josie? All in favor, Jim?
Yes.
Josie?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Kay?
Yes.
Jonathan? Oops, sorry. I knew I was going to do that. Nancy?
Yes.
And Janet, yes, thank you. So there's one, while we're on the treasurer's report and we're talking finances, I just want to also bring up an email that came in at 3:06 this afternoon. Let me bring that up. And that's a request. So we've had, does everybody see this spreadsheet
Right.
under Health and Human Services here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we we were requested to reduce the budget by $599. So we took that out of the expense report. And Joan just received a request to reduce it another $1,177. So I don't know,
What?
our budget,
By how much?
$1,177.
Is that reflected in here? I don't see.
No, it's not. I'm just sharing this with you.
Oh,
This
okay.
is the spreadsheet that was sent to Joan and asked her to figure out where she can find $1,177. But we can't do that without touching our wages. So I was just,
Oh, no, 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 no.
Was there an explanation given for that?
let me stop this share for a
I just
second.
want to explain, can I just explain something about that particular category,
Please.
which is troublesome?
Mhm.
Just wanted to have it be put up there.
I'm just gonna, so this is the explanation that was sent.
Let me just see. Hi, Joan. Unfortunately, we have to ask you to. Okay, not a lot of explanation. Can I explain something?
Yeah, no. I mean, that's, you have
Okay.
more information about that than
I just
anybody
want you
else.
to, if you could bring up the spreadsheet.
I'm getting there. Thank you. Yep. I forget I have to hit share. It was on my screen, but yeah. So go ahead.
Okay, so what happened was when the original budget was looked at earlier in the week, there was a misinterpretation of the cuts that had to be made in each of the lines. So last night, that was clarified, and that's why there was, quote, an additional amount that was needed when Ed made the first go round of cuts. He wasn't basing it on the right percentage. What is really, really worrisome about this particular category, which is Health and Human Services, do you see the $5,000 under the mosquito control program? That was funded last year by a gift from Matt Rowland and his family. So because that was a gift last year, now all of a sudden it's in the budget for $5,000 and you're in the same category with the Board of Health. So what I think is happening here, I'm not positive because there's not a lot of explanation in that email. That is part of the amount that has to be, I'm not sure why it says the deficit. Does it have the total amount that has to be cut?
1177.
So it has to get to 131,427.
We only have our portion, Rini. We don't have the rest of the Health and Human Services.
Yeah. Okay, so you're being asked to cut, do you know what percent?
Nope. You saw what I saw. You saw what Joan saw. And we can't make that cut without touching the salaries.
Well, I would, if I were you, and I don't know the answer to this, unfortunate, but what I'm worried about is that there's a possibility, because that is now a $5,000 expense to the Health and Human Services category. I hope that's not being distributed across the entire category. I hope that's being distributed across the Board of Health, is what I'm trying to say.
We've been asked to total reduction of 1776 between the 599 and the 1177. So we've been asked to cut a budget. I mean, and the salaries don't reflect the goals of the select board
Right, right.
watched. And
Well, all I'm saying is I just think that you should verify that what percent it is, because there was a total target amount, and it's 131,425, which is the total amount reduced for the entire category is 226763. That's the difference between the 133 and the 131. And I'm not really sure how to, I just want to make sure that the $5,000 isn't being spread over the category. So I think you should ask questions. I don't have an answer to it right now, but I would send Ed an email or go down and talk to him and ask him to explain how he arrived at the cut for the Council on Aging.
So Rini, are you saying the $5,000 was like a one-time gift?
No, yes, it was a
Good.
one-time gift. It's a 3-year mosquito. It's very, very important with all the EEE and all the horses and stuff. It's
Right.
not even it's not a management program. It's a surveillance program of mosquitoes. And it's $5,000 a year. Last year, though, when we were desperate to cut the budget, Matt Rowland just stepped up and said, I'm going to make a donation of $5,000. And so now we have this $5,000 charge that wasn't in last year's budget.
But that's for the Board of Health. It's not.
So that's for the Board of Health, and I just want to make sure, because the figures down the bottom are for the entire category.
so
Right.
we're getting
saying-
52, we're getting 50 of the 2267 that has to be reduced. We're getting 52% of that reduction.
Okay, so I think you should ask, because obviously it's less than 5,000, so something is happening here that doesn't include the $5,000.
And
So
can I also,
all I'm saying is, I worried about this last night, because, can I just show you one other thing? If you can scroll down on the budget to the line that says the Highway Department. So the Highway Department,
did I go by it already? Sorry,
yeah, yeah, that's just,
too fast.
yeah.
Where are we here? Library. Is it above? Did I go? Oh, here it is above.
Yeah, there it is.
Scroll up. Yep.
The Highway Department is actually under budget, because see the $25,000 right there for the stormwater management program? We're
Mhm.
now going to be, it's now, this year's figure is $34,000, and it's being funded out of an article on the warrant. I don't know if it's operational stabilization or I think it's operational stabilization.
Not capital.
Pardon?
Not capital. We
Yeah, it
did-
must be operational stabilization. So because we're taking $25,000 out of that, his doesn't have to be really, I don't know why it says 50, well, where does it say? Yeah, see how it's less? 887, and then his is now 886. So anyway, the bottom line is his is actually, he doesn't have to cut anything, because we're now taking $25,000 that was funded last year and putting it into an article. So what I was saying is those two things are going to cause problems for whatever category they're in.
So
One on the good end and one on the bad end. And you happen to be in the same category as the Board of Health. So I just think Joan needs to go and talk to Ed and get a little bit more details on how did they arrive at the amount of money that needs to be cut from your budget line? Because I'm kind of concerned that there's a little cost sharing. Maybe it's not, but I'm just worried about it.
can I just mention though, Rini, there is no cut underneath the Board of Health right now at all. So we've already cut in this column G, we've already cut our 599, and that's reflected to get to the 131, I guess. But there's no cuts out of the Board of Health. So
No, I think that the category that you're trying to fill in right now is the one that's blank. So I think that the Board of
Yeah.
Health doesn't have anything in that category right there. You have the 28,805. So they have to also look at their budget, I'm sure.
If this number is, I mean, if,
I'll check with Ed
Yeah, I
first
think
thing
it-
in the morning.
I just, I'm blurry eyed looking at all this. All I can tell you is that the $5,000, I just hope is not something that's negatively impacting the Council on Aging budget. That's all I wanted to point out.
well, if we're asked to do 52% of the decrease, then, and our budget is much smaller than the other budget, then there's a problem.
Yeah, that's what I'm just want to make sure that that's not happening. That's all. The $5,000, I just wanted to point out, is something that was not funded in the budget last year. So all of a sudden it's a new charge and it's going to throw off all these numbers if it's not handled separately.
What is column G?
Column G is that's where we need to get to.
Tab 1.5, I guess, right, or something, that's where we need to be for a balanced budget.
Yeah. So all the figures in the bottom, they were supposed to be in green, including the percentage. So we asked them to change it all to green last night. I don't know why he didn't. So each department has a number in the bottom that has to be cut from it. We ended up over budget after all the calculations and stuff. I think it was $30-something thousand. Anyway, I don't want to confuse anybody. All I want to say is that I think you should ask how you arrived at the amount that you're expected to cut, and just make sure that it's not involving the other department that's in your Health and Human Services category.
Yeah, I
Well,
just,
to be moved to culture and recreation.
Mhm.
Can I say something?
Yes, please.
First of all, what is the amount that you said that we have to make up? They want us to make up 1,700 and,
$1,177.
I'm sorry, $1,777?
Yep. 1,177.
Okay,
In addition to what?
in addition to the 599 that we've already cut to go to 630.
Correct.
So I mean, I don't know, so if there's 2267 and you have all the veterans information and you have the animal inspection and you have all the Board of Health, why we're asked to do 52% of this number makes, I mean, give me a separate category.
I'm just going to bring up what I got last night after the meeting from Matt Rowland on the actual budget and see.
Oh, you're gonna look at it yourself? I don't wanna.
I'm going to bring up my copy of it, which was last night.
If you want to share, are you going to share it or not, Rini? Because I'll stop sharing if you want to share.
Yeah, hang on. I'm just going to try to find it somewhere.
Janet,
Yes.
would it be possible for you to share your actually email this document to everybody in Excel?
Um,
I mean, to be honest with you, it's because I'm also on the library board. And I just want to make sure our cuts are proportional so we can maintain our certification.
yeah.
They were proportional. It's based on the percentage of the budget that so they had a deficit, and then Matt came up with what percent of the budget do you have, and then made the cuts proportional that way. So
Oh,
it's not across the board. Otherwise it would have been a much bigger hit.
So then that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because we have a smaller proportion than most.
Right, so your proportion is supposed to be small compared to,
You would think.
let me just see, I don't even,
I mean, if we have 2267 to reduce in total in this category, why is 52% of it coming out of the Council on Aging?
I don't know if that figure on the bottom, that's why I wanted to check my own category, and I'm having a hard time finding Matt's email from last night, but I wanted to check and see whether you were only given a certain percentage of that amount, and that in fact might be a higher amount that he applied to other people. Let me just see if I can find.
saw his email. He's asking us to cut our budget by $1,177. And Jim, to answer your question, yes.
Oh, no, you mentioned the 2267. Um,
That's
Does
what we
that,
have
does
to
that
get.
include Council on Aging, or is that Culture and Recreation?
So this 2267 right here,
Yeah,
that's just the difference between 133 and 131. That's the discount for this
oh, I see. Okay,
category.
that's what I
Yeah,
thought.
I have, you want me to, share my screen?
Sure.
It actually, this category was $13,325.33. You were only provided with a percentage. You're not at all close to 50-something%. The total amount that had to be cut from this category was $13,325, and it's because of the mosquito program. That's why it's so high. If you take off 5,000 from there right away.
Are you sharing, Rini, or no?
I have to see if I can figure out how to share. Hang on.
That's still $8,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I mean, of the remaining balance, they're asking us to do 50. I'm just talking about the remaining balance of 22, whatever. They're asking us to pick up 52% of that.
Am I screen sharing now?
You are,
Your email.
your email anyway.
See it
Yes.
now?
Yes.
Here we go.
This is what I got last night. So this is the green category is the total amount that needs to be cut from the budget right there. So if you go to your category here, which is Health and Human Services, there's the total amount is 13,325.33, I think.
So what is the,
2,000.
This is the figure that we need to arrive at.
and we're at 144 right now,
Yes.
but that's with the increase in salaries.
Yes, that's with the increase in salaries. And this is the red area is not able to be touched.
Well, then how do we find $1,177 out of six, and we only have
Yeah.
630.62?
Well, that's why I say, and I think you should probably talk to Ed about that and just get a little bit more information about, I mean, you don't have a lot of places to choose from at all.
One line item.
Rini, you said the red can't be touched?
Well, the select board decided the priorities were to get people that are below range on salary up to a reasonable level.
That's
And
great.
so we gave anybody that was below the range on salary, there were 3 positions. One was the volunteer coordinator, but that corrected itself because of the minimum wage adjustment. The other one was assistant town administrator, and the other one was Joan. So those 3, we made a 20% increase in Joan's salary to get her to 20, not quite as high as was voted by you all to 26, but at least brought it up a significant amount. And then we took anybody that was on the lower range of a salary range, anybody that was 10% or lower, they were above the minimum range level, but they were only by 0 to 10%, just to start somewhere. A lot of them were the administrative assistants and the assistants, and also the librarian, the children's librarian. Anybody that was on the low range of the scale up to 10%, we gave an additional 2% raise above the 2% COLA. So we decided that this year we were going to try very hard to make wages a priority, especially for people that were not necessarily making a living wage. So that's why they're in red. And the blue numbers are potential override amounts. So there's a lot of mixed feelings about that. We certainly haven't said anything about that one way or another. So in the short.
So looking back at the Council on Aging, though, we only have $650 left
Right.
in
Yeah.
any available.
You gotta go.
That's
the other way.
expenses.
So Rini, can you look, I can't, these red numbers are really hard to read. The number under Council on Aging wages is what?
613514.
Where did that number come from? 'Cause the
Those
number
must
I
be the
have-
wages that are not covered under the formula grant.
Yes, and it should be 581351. That's the number on the spreadsheet that was sent out to the select board members by Francine.
But I think that one of the positions that went up was the the assistant.
There is only the
The
assistant.
Administrative
Yes.
assistant.
So instead of 5565, it went up by 4%. I mean, I
Right.
have the other spreadsheet that Francine
Right.
worked out.
That's
it-
what we did. Anybody that was between 0 and 10%, it went up by 4%.
Yes, so if you take 50, not that I want to cut Darlene out. And you need to get rid of, I don't know where this line item came from. We've never had a line item that said Council on Aging Admin before. So it's very confusing to have an extra line item in there.
Well, it's empty. I don't know why they did that, to be honest with you. I don't know. Maybe because they wanted to acknowledge that there's a position, even though it's, I don't know.
So then call it that,
I didn't create the stretch.
I understand. So I don't understand how, because that's too high of a number.
It came right from payroll, and actually it came from Francine's Excel
No.
spreadsheet on the payroll numbers. And so the positions that were low were increased 4%.
Yes,
So,
if you take 5565.12 and multiply by 1.04, if you take I have the other Excel spreadsheet if you want to take a look at
It
that.
sounds like there's several different things that somebody needs to just get a finalized before Ed can even
Well,
ask.
part of the problem
who
is
can.
when we were going through this last night, what we found is that it was the amount of money that they're supposed to be making times the hours of a week that they work times 52.2. What we find out that there were gaps in some of the positions, so it actually made it higher because FY21 was less than, the figure. So it was based on what the hourly wages times the hours worked times 52.2. And if there were any gaps or any reductions, it made the figure different than what department heads thought.
so can I just say a couple of things?
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a lot of unknown things here, but should we be taking, to find the 4%, should we be taking it to column F rather than E? Either way, it's going to be under the 6135. I mean, it's going to be 59, just over 5,900 if we put the 4% onto column F.
Well, I'm not gonna, I don't think that I just think that I think that Joan needs to talk to Ed. I think that's what needs to happen. I just think that it's just gonna be more confusing otherwise. Have her understand exactly where these figures are coming from, and then, and make sure that what she's being asked to do is fair. That's
Can I
all I
also ask, can I also ask something else? So Nancy, you may have already answered it, a comment you made a few minutes ago, but trying to remember the treasurer, your report at the beginning of the meeting, and it's, was there any unused money that's available here for that we can roll over into to the fiscal year 22?
Not in the town
Yeah,
account.
that's called,
Okay, but there's no money, miscellaneous expenses or anything in the grants that can be somehow kept as surplus and
no,
then rolled over
they
to the town budget?
expire at the end of June and they belong to the state, not to the.
Okay.
It's worth asking, Jonathan, Rini, can you stop sharing for me? Okay, because I just want to share this is the document that I'm referring to. That this is the administrative assistant for the COA, went from 1530 to 1591. It should have gone from 5590 for 7 hours to 5813 for 7 hours. So I'm just saying, this is the spreadsheet that was sent out to increase each individual position that you referred to. It should be good to cross-reference that and make sure they match up. That's we're not here to discuss the budget other than the COA budget. So But I just want to make sure that whoever's doing the final spreadsheet takes a look at this. I mean, the formulas are here.
So if we take out the $1,177 out of that line, that will come to 5813.
I don't want to, that's up to Ed to do that.
Out of what line?
Out of-
The one that you just shared, could you send me that when you get a chance? That's almost exactly what we have to take out.
No, but
If we
yeah,
corrected that line.
okay, but that's not in the sheet that was sent to you, and that's what's difficult.
Is it appropriate for somebody from the board to go talk to Ed as well with Joan? Or is that just Joan?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to do that. I think I lost.
I don't know. Tomorrow's a good day with the department head meetings at 10 plus the pickleball clinics are.
Well, I would say that it has to be because he's asking for it by tomorrow. So if he wants it, he needs to answer some questions.
Well, it could wait till after 11
Okay, so
or 12.
I don't know what happened to Rini. I know she had to leave early, so maybe that was her time when she had to leave, so. All right, so John, well, let's get to Ed, make sure that, ask him where he expects you to squeeze that out of, because the sheet that you have doesn't have the red highlighted salaries in it. So it's not like you can see that to do that, so.
But it's just about exactly that amount.
But I understand, but he doesn't, I don't know what number he's looking at because it's not in your sheet, you know? But I
Okay.
do,
I'll,
for some reason, it's, you know, the spreadsheet is,
I'll try to get him to him before the department head meeting. And if I need help, I'll let you know and we can have another meeting with him after the department head meeting.
I mean, all I can,
After the pickleball clinic.
they're like, I mean, they spend hours on this, an hour, the select board and the finance committee, and they go through this till their heads are spinning. So everyone's looking at it in every different direction. And I know that they're trying to cross-reference everything. I don't know where the $6,100 came from. So if that's what it takes to remove, but he didn't give that to you as an option. Right? I mean.
Well, he said cut it, so I will
It's not in your spreadsheet.
suggest that.
So
Well, you can't cut it if the money isn't there.
to show for you to cut it from. So, okay. Anyway, I'm sorry to get on. I wanted to do that before because I knew Rini had a 5:15 meeting and had to leave by 5. So, okie dokes.
I think it's pretty clear, but I just wanted to say on the record, I fully support the wages not being cut at all.
Right.
They
Well,
haven't gone up to what we wanted, so let's.
The goal of the select board was to increase those 2 wages. I mean, that, and that group of wages that I just shared with you. So, you know, I think their intention is not to take it from there either. So it makes it kind of complicated. Where do I take it from?
When we only have 650.
Unless we take more wage, if we take it off our wage line and add more wages to the formula grant.
I'm not doing that.
I don't understand.
I don't
Maybe
mean
we-
as the director, I mean, for the extra
We fought
wages.
so hard, Joan, for you to be paid out of the general town fund.
I'm saying my salary will continue to be paid out of the general fund and then the admin, if we have to supplement it with the grant, we could.
If we have to, but I think there's a mistake in the first sheet, so.
I
Well,
agree.
I'll talk to Ed about that with Joan.
That goes back and I don't understand this. I just do the treasurer's report. Thank you, Josie. But just like Jonathan was saying, then we could take that money out of somewhere else.
We could next year. I mean, right now we pay Darlene, well, you know, 3 hours out of the state formula grant and 7 hours out of the town budget. So we could do 5 hours and 5 hours if we had to. But if the state formula grant,
Okay.
I mean, then that takes away from programming and everything else. But I mean,
But we'd be okay for the rest of the year.
this is not till
Because we
July.
haven't
This is
used
all
a
about
lot.
July anyway, so.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah, I can try to get with Joan and maybe we can do a quick Zoom call before, or like around 9 or something. Joan, how do you feel about that?
Okay.
Honestly.
Sounds like a fun way to start the day before your director's meeting. So we'll talk in the morning. Okay,
Sure.
sure. All right, where were we? Holy cow. Treasurer's report passed. Director's report, including volunteer, coordinator, and administrative assistant.
So I'd like to change gears right away. I have a wonderful announcement. I'd like to announce the volunteers of the year. And one is our own chair, Janet Kane. Well deserved for everything done for the board, for the pickleball, for you name it, she does it. And her wonderful spouse, Francine Tishman. So it's
my
a partnership, a team volunteer of the year this year. So I'm thrilled.
I say
And-
to Joan, they gave it to both of us because nobody can tell us apart.
I was afraid people would say that, but you both bring so much to the table, and I didn't want to pick one without the other. I think you make such a great team,
Thank you.
and we're blessed. We
So
are
well
so
deserved.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
You gave me a heads up for this, so thank you. Thank you, whoever made the decision, so.
Woohoo.
All
So
right,
that's how I start my report.
is there, you want me to pull up?
And
your-
that's going to be recognized, we'll recognize them at the June 14th picnic at Conan Park. And you'll all be invited.
Woohoo.
Excellent.
That's great.
Meals by Good Eats to Go. Betsy and the Good Eats to Go gang.
Yeah, so that's very nice. Anything, I mean, I can pull your report up, but is there anything that you want to highlight? So, because we kind of went overtime there, so.
Yeah, so if you
anything
can pull it
anybody
up, that'd be great because I printed it, but then I got distracted with another meeting and I have no idea where it is. So if you bring it up, that'd be great.
Oh, I have to find it, Joan.
Oh,
I have it here somewhere. I
yeah.
thought I might have opened it, but I'm
I'm
not
looking at mine, but it's 2020. Whoops.
sure. Yeah, that won't do it. Okay, give me a second and I'll bring it up. I usually have it open here. I don't know what happened to me today.
Well, we have a lot of other things open today.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me get to that now to share.
Here we are. So the intergenerational program, which is part of what we're going to talk about later, the Highland Valley grant, but intergenerational came up at our meeting at 3:00 today. But that was a good program. I wouldn't say a great program. We had just 3 seniors, including myself. And it was a little bit tricky for, for those of us who are new to technology. Of course, the students whizzed through everything and they set up the rooms and did it all. But it was a great program if you like Pictionary, which I do. And you used your mouse to draw pictures and people guessed. And it was fun. It was a great interaction. I hope we should do more interactions with the high school or with any of the school. I think, there's something to say for intergenerational programming. So if anybody has any ideas, I'd like to see more of that. Our teacher, our yoga teacher moved to Ohio, but since she's been doing it on Zoom, she was able to Zoom her program. And she's still going to continue that through the formula grant until the end of June. And then we'll see where it goes from there. I'm hoping that we'll open June 1st, but who knows? I'd like to put out the June newsletter, send it out another mass mailing through the Holyoke. I can't think of it right now. The Holyoke. What is it?
You talking about Marcus Printing?
Yes, Marcus, thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'd like to send out another mass mailing for June.
But Joan,
Um,
there's nothing, I haven't heard anything in anybody's guidelines from the state that they're gonna have, you know, I mean, or from local, that they're opening the municipality in June to the public.
I hear you. We can
So,
always hope and change gears again. Yeah, it might be tough to plan anything indoors. It'll have to be all outdoors for June as well, with hope.
anything else you want to point out? Because I'm going to try to move it along, Joan, because we've got,
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, we didn't, our phone had to be sent back twice. So anyway, that we haven't got a phone for the reception area yet, but I hope to soon.
okay, good, good. Then we need some bodies there to welcome the people that don't come in. So, great. All right, and just Darlene's continuing with her call work and her Zoom meetings. Thank God. I know she's decided it's easier to run a Zoom meeting from home than sitting in the office with interruptions between the van drivers and the phone ringing. So that makes sense. And then Flo's kind of summary for all her activities too. And Flo's in the office 2 mornings a week, in case people don't know that. So that's terrific too, to have her back and answering the phone. So, all right. And I know we didn't do the Friends update. Kay, you want to just speak to real quick, at least?
Oh, yeah, okay, they had a good meeting yesterday. They're doing, we were able to have it at Conan Park, so it was a live meeting, and they're doing very well. Their budget is well, and they did the planning for the final touches for the silent auction, which will be Saturday, May 22nd from 10 to 2, and they're going to have a preview on Wednesday, May 19th from 10 to 2, and things are moving along very well. They have a lot of items on the list, and yeah, hopefully we'll have a very successful silent auction. Since the first time we've ever had one, but they're doing great things, and we'll see how it comes out. But it looks very promising.
So let me just mention a couple things. I know there's some golf for Southampton Country Club. So we donated a couple passes, and they also donated a couple passes. Things like from Glendale Ridge, kids' bicycles that were donated by Ray. A lot of scratch-off cards, right, or gift cards from
Yes.
places. And a lot of interesting items. So, come support ourselves and take a look at. It's not going to be online. Jonathan and I are used to the online auctions, right, Jonathan? For Riverside Industries, which went great. So this is live, and hopefully the weather will be good. Is there a rain date, Kay?
They'll have to reschedule if there is rain. They didn't give us a date, though.
Okay, so May 22nd, outside the senior center, right? Set up in the parking lot.
Yes.
Saturday. So
hopefully under the awning. I'm not sure where, but
Yeah, well, the awning's not big enough for all the stuff that they have there.
Right.
They looked into renting a tent, but it was $800. They figured that would cut into their expenses. So we're hoping just put your rosary beads out and it helps.
Sylvia, you have a question?
Yeah, just the times.
10 o'clock, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
10 to 2. Okay.
So are they going to have people sign for amounts, and then at 2 o'clock close it off, and whoever's the highest bidder wins it? They collect the bids at 2 o'clock. Is that how it's going to work?
Yes, I'm sure we
Right.
can't collect it all that day. I may even cut it off at 1:30. I don't know. Lori, do you know much about how that
No, you can do it at 2. People now know it ends at 2. So
Yep.
if they really want something, they're gonna hover.
Or they're gonna come back at 5 to 2 and write their new amounts in.
Exactly.
So, you can't cut it short because people expect it to go, that the final bids, the bidding will close at 2 o'clock, so.
And the beauty of that is if somebody really wants something near there at 2, they're the last bidder, they're taking it with them.
Yeah,
They're paying for the item and off they go.
good.
Because that's what you want. You don't want 40 items to store.
Jonathan,
Do you need any additional volunteers that day?
Yes.
Did you hear that resounding?
They're
Yes.
starting Wednesday at 8 a.m. I will not be here.
you won't?
At 8 a.m., no, I won't be here. So Flo's opening up on Wednesday at 8, and I think Saturday at maybe 8 or 8:30. So Flo's opening up, and I'll be here, but I won't be there at 8 o'clock.
Okay, so but the preview doesn't begin until what
Until
time?
10 o'clock.
And then the actual
But they have
auction.
to set up.
So, yes, for setup, Jonathan, probably for both mornings, I would guess especially.
Set up, break down, whatever you available.
Okay, so do I be in touch with you, Joan? Should I be in touch with, Flo or
Yeah,
who?
and
Huh?
I'll introduce you to some fine folks, Andrea Sullivan and Flo and Ray Spalding. They're kind of running the deal.
So can you just hand them Jonathan's name and just let them know that?
I will let them know. Yep.
Good. Thank you for volunteering. Anybody else? All right. What else we have? Opening of the center we touched on. Spring outdoor activities. So the pickleball is off and running. We are,
Question,
yes,
so the pickleball tomorrow, is that beginners or is that regular?
10:30 is a beginners. You told me you weren't able to come.
Well, things have changed,
Well,
so,
I don't have openings anymore, Josie.
okay, all right.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Well, that just happened today, that the
Okay.
schedule changed.
I mean, you can come by and see if somebody doesn't show up. I mean, that's always an option. You're not that far away if you want to come for 10:30. I expanded the group to have some intermediate players because we ended up having 2 instructors, but only 4 and 4. So, but if somebody doesn't show up on the 4, then, why don't you come down and try it out? Don't give up.
All right,
One person's a question mark that I'm not sure is coming, so I know that's just one of you and not both of you, but
yeah, well, we'll see what happens. Okay.
okay,
Thank you
great.
for
But feel free
the
though,
option, though.
right? I have not heard back for confirmation for one of the people. I'm sorry, Josie, too, because we're gonna try to do a 10:30 beginners pickleball on Thursdays moving forward, okay?
Okay.
What else do we have? Other spring activity was the Tai Chi, which kind of is getting off to a slow start, so we have to do a little more promoting on the Tai Chi at 10:30 on Mondays.
10:30 for beginners, 11:15 for advanced.
Okay, so if anybody knows of
but-
anybody that's interested.
And we may go back to the park because there really isn't, everything slopes here. There isn't a flat land unless you go up at the upper parking lot. So we may do one more here and then move it back to the park.
Okay. Jim, did you have a question? I'm sorry.
No, you answered the question. I was wondering where it was, but it's outside the center now and it might move to the park, right?
Okay, great. Thanks, Jim. Okay, we touched briefly on the volunteer luncheon, and the only other thing, Joan is going to give us an update on the Highland Valley grant. We met at 3 o'clock with the grant committee in town, where we're kind of like a month behind schedule. So, Joan, do you want to share anything or?
Sure. I'll share the
And anybody that might be interested in helping Joan out and kind of brainstorming, not probably during this meeting, but as a follow-up subcommittee for grant opportunities. So maybe just the summary, Joan, not the sheet that you fill out, but the RFP. Do you have that?
Yeah, I have it, but I push share. Let me just go back.
Okay.
So I put share screen,
Mm-hmm.
and then I go to the this does you see it?
Yep, yep.
I did it right.
Yay. Okay, now you
Um,
go up and do your enlargement. This is
Uh-oh.
the Highland Valley thing,
Yep.
the RFP.
Well, that's the one that you sent, because it's not the one that they showed today. It's the one that you sent.
Yeah, I sent both of them. Okay.
All right. So this is just an explanation. So it's, I have to go to view or something. View.
Joan, let me show, can I share mine real quick? Because I have the prettier version.
Absolutely.
So you have to stop sharing.
All right. Did I do it? I don't know.
Nope.
I
up at
just, I minimized.
No, you don't want to minimize. There should be something across the top. You are viewing Joan's screen. Stop sharing. There's a
View
little red
Sharing,
button.
stop share.
Yep,
Okay.
okay.
Got
Let me
it.
just show you this real quick.
Shares well with others.
Yes,
I try.
I think it's a little bit easier to see than,
Oh, there we go.
okay. So I'll send this out to everybody if you haven't seen it already.
Great.
So you, because we're not going to decipher it right now, but some of the priority areas that they're looking at: family caregiving, transportation, in-home services to reduce isolation, services to promote evidence-based trainings, and services to support low-income seniors. So this is about a 9-page proposal. So I'll send it out to everybody. We just kind of looked at it before the grant committee. Is there anybody that might be interested in working with Joan on coming up with some brainstorming ideas together on this?
I would volunteer for that.
I think Jim was very helpful the last time with the wording and things, enhancing it.
Anybody else that wants to get a poke? Well, I'll send it out to you, and if you have some terrific, again, it's due May 31st. So
Right.
it's a tight window.
And that's a holiday, so it
well,
probably
what-
has to be in by the 27th.
Yeah. Okay. So I will make sure I get that out to everybody. And if anybody else says, well, I think I have some great ideas for that, let Joan know so we can try to move that forward.
Will
Yvonne,
you
did
send
that
the form as well,
to everybody? Not,
or along with it?
pardon me?
You'll
I don't-
send the form, the RFP, the form itself?
I wasn't going to, because let's start with one thing. And I mean, we can, I don't know that I have it, Joan. You sent it to me?
I can send it out. But yes, yeah, I did send it to you. Yep.
All right,
That's that other form that I was going to share, but
So
it's
I'll
fine.
forward it and send it out, and then everybody can take a view of it. Okay, we kind of touched base. We just got the information at the last meeting, and we really didn't have a chance to decipher any of it before the meeting last time, so.
I did do a little research though. I mean, they have had the 2-year grant here for transportation. They've had it here for, what was the other one I sent it for? It was social isolation outreach. Something, it was actually work that we already do, and they gave it somehow, they credited the grant for the time that people were working in the office. So some of the same work we still do.
Okay, but it might, if we can massage what you have, maybe there's something we can expand it to, and it seemed to work then, so maybe we can get that to happen. Love to get a grant from Highland Valley. Okay, anything else that can't wait to the next meeting that anybody else wants to touch base on? Sylvia,
Yeah, okay. The Citizen of the Year, you remember,
this is not for public discussion, Sylvia, okay? Because it's we're being recorded, it'll be up on Easthampton Media.
no, my question is when we're gonna find out about that.
They used to announce it at the Memorial Day Parade.
Okay.
Of course, there's not a Memorial Day Parade. Look, I'm sorry to cut you off. I didn't mean to.
No,
I
no.
didn't
no,
wanna-
no, no.
leak any surprises out, who we know we all are hoping.
Yeah,
It. So I don't know when they're gonna, it's the American Legion, so I'm not sure. I mean, they were due by May 1st, right? They had to receive them by May 1st. And
something like that.
yeah, so I think that the applications are in hand, so I don't know what the process is. This is the first year for me personally that I've even seen a form available to fill out and to make a recommendation. So
Okay.
that was
All right.
improvement in communication, so that's nice. But so I don't know.
problem.
Sorry.
No,
Usually Memorial Day parade, they do it and announce it in front of town hall, but I haven't heard about a parade this year. Has anyone else?
I talked to Ed today just about parades, and I guess they are going to be lifted around May 30th, but there's no time to plan it. Usually they plan, 6-8 weeks in advance. So he said there may be a ceremony.
Okay. Yeah, we
So
did
maybe at the
flowers
ceremony.
last year, so. Okay. All right. Anything else before there's nobody here from the public, so.
Janet, if I could intercede for just one quick minute. We were talking about spending that $7,000 in the budget,
Mhm.
and we're talking about Memorial Day. Last year, didn't we supply flowers for the cemetery, Joan?
They have that in the budget. It's $250.
Okay.
And yeah, they have that in the budget. So I don't know if that would be appropriate for the formula grant, because that's a community, that's not a council on aging, it's a town-wide
Oh,
thing.
right.
But
But
we can talk about it. Would anybody like to be on that a subcommittee, ad hoc committee, just to talk about how to spend $7,000? We should really meet before the next meeting in June.
Yeah, I'd be willing to be on that, Joan.
Okay,
I love
because we can
spending
even
other people's
Zoom.
money.
Once we get
Yeah.
some ideas, we can Zoom and then we can go with it,
yeah, let me know when you
Okay.
two meet and I'll pipe in. If anybody again has ideas on anything that we could purchase, this is a tough year. And Joan, if you can find out, if it's how critical it is to spend every penny this year. We don't want to lose money for next year. Basically, it was, I think $9 per senior was the last I heard, and our senior number, I haven't heard the final number yet.
Mhm.
It's somewhere around 2,000 though, right? I believe. In the census, so.
If you could count me, I'd be happy to sit in on that also.
See,
Okay.
Jim likes to spend other people's money too.
Yeah, I don't have my own to spend. So,
There we go.
We'll talk about grants, we'll talk about spending money. They're kind of similar in a way.
I thought we'd buy all the pickleball players a t-shirt.
Oh, that'd be cute.
buy everybody a pickleball.
Away, pickleball. Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second, okay, let's see, all in favor, Jim?
Yes.
Jim, Josie, Lori,
Yes.
Yes.
Kay,
Yes.
okay, we'll see you next month. Don't think you're off the hook. Nancy,
Okay, I'm there next month. Okay.
and I will let Ed know about the new thing and the new people and the new recommendations. Nancy, did you say yay already? Janet, yes. Okay, everybody, thank you. I feel a
Thank
little
you, Janet.
got off track with the budget a little bit, so I hope that was not too confusing. I'm confused, but I hope you guys are doing okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Salud to Cinco de Mayo.
Bye, bye.
Cinco de Mayo.
Bye, everyone.
Tap into my tequila. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Bye.